go try to block every shot, and I'm gonna be physical with you the whole game. You know Stu gonna be physical with you. When you think of the Pistons, you think it's just hard work and just gritty basketball. That's just the identity you gotta have when you put on that jersey.
I'm not your average breed of canine. Not a good dog, I'm bad boy for life. I set the tone, don't care about no tick. Let it be known, I get my respect. Come in the lane and see I don't bluff. If you retaliate, that's on ya. Talking pundits, I heard your shade. Talking that shop, you must run this way. Look at dog palm, mess around, find out, Look at dog palm, mess around, find out, For some barbecue sauce, boy, you better crop a hill, cause I'm like that. When you're ready for some barbecue sauce, boy, you better crop a hill, cause I'm like that. The dog palm, mess around, find out.
What up, though, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Downtown Do Show. And tonight we have a returning guest, but that does not make it any less special. We have credentialed beat reporter for the Detroit Pistons at ClutchPioints, Eric Vincent, in the figurative building. Eric, what is going on, my dog? How you feeling?
Good, man. I'm happy to be here, bro. Dog, I gotta say, because I don't think I've told you, but Dog Pound is like my motivational song to play whenever I'm writing. I just got to let you know.
Hey.
That always gets me just after a win. When they lose, I can't do it after they lose, but after they win, I got that playing every time for sure. I got you.
First of all, thank you for that. Shout out G-Mac Cash. He on a wave right now, right?
Yeah,
I'm trying to get to that level.
Sure.
But that's encouraging to hear. Because I try to make sure the records are really just like inspiring and universal, where everybody likes it, stuff like that. So I appreciate you saying that, bro, for sure. Hopefully the next one does the same numbers, for sure.
Oh yeah, I expect nothing different from you, man. You one of the greats out here. I appreciate you for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. It's always a blessing and a privilege and a treat to have my dog here. So we got some good topics we're going to talk about tonight. I see you guys in the chat. What's going on, Ryan? Everybody who's here, appreciate you guys showing up and showing out as you always do. We're going to have fun tonight, man. A lot of interesting developments for our Detroit Pistons. It's a fun time to be a Detroit Pistons fan, not just this season, but beyond. If you've been watching for years, you know how the trajectory usually works. Everything's cyclical. So, Eric, man, I just want to kind of pick your brain while we have you here. And everybody who is here, make sure you guys drop some fire emojis for my dog. Make sure you roll out the red carpet for him, show him some love, as you guys always do. So I have nothing to expect other than that. So, Eric, man. Okay. Before we get to it, man, I really want to shout you out because you dropped a banger of an article about last night's game. And I want to make sure that everybody is able to access that. I mean, all your articles are fire, bro. Like, I read pretty much all your articles whenever I see you post it. So, and I'm not just saying that because you're here. I keep it a stack with you as always. So, but I definitely want you guys to go check it out, man. The one that he just finished up is titled Pistons star Kate Cunningham's Blessing Message After Epic Game Winner versus Heat. So I will put a link in the chat box for you guys to go check that out in case you guys are wondering what he is talking about. But definitely quality stuff, man. Always top shelf material that you have. You come correct as always, and most importantly, you're accurate and you're honest. So you always are on top of your game. So I want to give you a lot of love there, bro, for sure. Let's go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I'm like the anti-Shaq out here. I want to make sure y'all don't have to question who the coach is and, worry about baseline information. Detroit sports is the proper representation in the media, and that's really my biggest motivation through all this, man. So I appreciate the support, for real.
Man, I think he still got PTSD from 04. Like, that's really what that's the conclusion I've reached at this point, for him, because he honestly is lazy when it comes to all teams, even his own Lakers.
Yes. But
it's levels to the laziness. And you just see, like, some of the things he says, like, I think Chauncey Billups is still trying to figure out what he's talking about when it comes to the team. So it's like, bro, I ain't been here in 10 plus years. But yeah, definitely, you're definitely pushing it forward, bro, pushing in the right direction as far as media coverage and just making sure that it's done the right way with integrity and with hard work. That's what you always bring to the table. I can say that for sure.
Appreciate that, man. Bringing the grit to the media game.
Yes,
it's missing a lot of
sir.
that right now. So I want to definitely bring that back to help restore it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. King Tone, what's going on, bro? He said, what's up to Eric? Detroit Sports Talk, what's going on? If Lakers win, Pistons move into the fifth spot. That must mean they're playing the Pacers or the Bucks tonight. I'm not sure which. Let me know, Detroit Sports Talk, who they are playing. That'd be interesting.
It's the Bucks without
Is it
Luka,
okay?
Mhm.
Right. Okay. That's what it is. Okay. Yes. We'll see. We'll get to that a little bit later as far as the standings and the Pistons seeding and stuff like that. But I want to start with what happened as far as last night, right? Cade's game winner. He's had game winners before, or at least one in the past, but I personally think this one will end up being the more iconic, if you will, the more impactful, the one that people remember. When you Google Cade Cunningham game winner, I think this is going to be the one that comes up. But I kind of wanted to get your thoughts just on the last 24 hours, where I know it's been crazy for you between the media push, with the Pistons playoff implications and all that. But just your thoughts on what you saw, what happened after, and 24 hours later, what you're thinking.
Man, it seems like an absolute roller coaster of what's going on with this team right now. So even coming into the game, so much media attention. Anybody who's on social media, seeing how the NBA's Twitter and Instagram was posting so much Cade Cunningham content, putting out so much Piston content.
Yeah.
And it would have been really sour to get that kind of push and then lose on an ESPN national stage.
Yeah.
And it was moments where the game was kind of looking like that. Miami kind of had control of the game for a good portion. They were going back and forth late in the fourth quarter. And when you need a superstar and when you need your guy to dial in and make a play, that's what superstars do. Sometimes everything can't be on script. You just need your guy to go out there and make a play happen. And that's what a superstar like Cade Cunningham did last night, man. It was unbelievable watching that performance. Just even the shot before the game winner with Duren pulling down the rebound.
Yeah, the offensive rebound.
Cade, who was wide open, who again, Cade hasn't had the best 3-point shot since the All-Star break. It's kind of dropped down around 35% for the season now. So he's been trying to find his rhythm again. And so to then find himself in a position where he's knocking down the biggest shot of the year and, to drive a heart or a stake in the heart of Miami after what they did last season too,
right,
over one of the best defenders in basketball, that was huge for him, man. Again, this was one of those national stage moments that even JB Bickerstaff said too. He said, listen, this was something that they're motivated by. He said they're always motivated playing on the road, but when their backs are against the wall, when people doubt them, when they're on that main stage, they want to show out and they want to impress. They want to earn the league's respect like we've been hearing for the past couple of weeks. And I think they've done that and some for those who are actually paying attention. So for Cade to step up in the moment he did, for it to be a complete team victory as well. I know Cade's going to get a lot of the prop for the game, winner in a triple-double, but Duren being able to play the defense he did, Asar making the late game plays that he made. Yeah. It was unbelievable watching them just basically stick to their identity, which is that never say die mentality. That grit that they pulled out late in that game, and then Cade getting the late game heroics, beating his chest. You can't ask for a better moment, especially knowing we've been asking for this from Cade for such a long time, man. It was unbelievable watching that play out the way it did.
Well said, bro. I like how you mentioned unsung heroes, because I was going to go to that with JD. He got the Chris Bosh offensive rebound for the Ray Allen. He was the one that play doesn't happen without him. No, right. So I really want to give him credit because that just lends to how his mindset has really transformed from the beginning of the season till now. He even said himself mid-season, I was playing soft to start the season. You were there, right? So, it's just nice to see him really making impactful plays in meaningful moments. We know he can grab rebounds all day long. He's a great lob threat, but to see him make big plays like that late in the game, I think kind of gets overshadowed because of obviously what Cade did, which is ridiculous, right? But I want to give him some love too, because he deserves credit for just playing big, playing to who the Pistons need him to be for sure. Yeah, it was great. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's been a tremendous impact for this team. Again, you see Like, obviously, we talked a lot about Jay Ivey and, losing him and what it's done for this team. JB Biggerstaff has talked about it as well. Like, it's not the same. It's obviously some things that we're working through, but you're seeing a lot of those changes play out for the betterment of the team, where Asar is bringing the ball up more, so K is not seeing the double teams right at half court like normal. You're seeing Duren a lot more involved with his passing. He's not as fearful of getting to the lane or going to the hoop with the rock and trying to find his shot. Like, they're fighting their identity in different ways. And again, it all comes with that, we're not going to back down. And I don't care what the score is. We're going to keep pushing until the clock is up. So, the unsung heroes, they've definitely been unbelievable in this stretch. Tobias Harris as well is another one. I mean, I keep saying it. He's playing the best defense of his entire career right now.
Bro,
like I'm super impressed with how he's been. And again, this is all, serves as an anchor to put Cade on the pedestal and the platform that he's at. Again, I was just looking at it earlier today. I really, really believe he has a case for first team All NBA. Like, I know Donovan Mitchell is going to be the easy name because of what Cleveland's been doing.
Yeah. I think I lost you.
My mic just went out.
Oh, there we go. I think you about to mute yourself.
You hear me better now?
I got you. Yeah. I got you. Can you hear me?
There you go. Yeah, sorry about that. I think my mic just cut out a second.
It's all good.
But no, I think at this point, I think he's making a legitimate case that he could be first team All NBA. Again, the easy pick right now is Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland. And granted, there's still a lot of games left to play, so you don't have to stamp anything yet. But based on what Cade has done, without 3 other All-Stars on his roster, losing his second best player, still not really having a solidified foundation of what the next 5 years are going to look like.
Right.
Like, the way he's been able to lift and consistently, build with his numbers in his franchise, regardless of what the circumstances, he has a legitimate case to be right next to SGA as that point guard or that guard number 2 on the All-NBA roster. Like, I don't want to call it overachieving because I still think he can get better, but what he's been able to do up to this point has been absolutely sensational. Yeah,
it's insane, bro. It's just nice to see him finally getting the respect he deserves. Yeah. ESPN had him ranked 67 to start the season, right? So, that's just indicative of the lack of respect. That's not even talking about the officiating. It's just so many different areas and facets that he has seen, and we as the Pistons as a team have seen as disrespect. It's just kind of cast off and not really paid any attention to on the court and off the court. So I think that's a big piece of it. You mentioned, I want to get to some more unsung heroes real quick. You mentioned Tobias Harris. I looked this up last night after the game, and you're echoing, like, we're on the same page with that, bro, as far as him having his best season, especially defensively. I don't ever remember him seeing him play defense like this. Orlando, Pistons the first time, Clippers, Sixers, and he's in year 14, bro.
Yep.
First time he's had 4 blocks in the game in his career.
Yeah.
So that just tells you that he is making a concerted effort to lean into that role. He's not a natural, gritty Isaiah Stewart type of player. He's more of a finesse player, but he is leaned in to that role because he's a professional. So I really want to give him credit too, because he's not. I think what he is doing now is just about, if not at least, or if not more than what everybody expected him to do for us when he signed here. I think he has hit that expectation and exceeded it for many. So as much as we talk about how he struggled early this season, we can't just get quiet when he really starts to play the exact role to a T that this team needs him to play once again on and off the floor.
Yeah, and I think that's been the consistent part. The defense, even if people were, sketched about his offensive production earlier to start the year, the defense has been there all season long. He's been a great rebounder, help side. He's done a really good job of help side defense. The buy-in on a one-on-one on ball has been there. No, he deserves major credit. And I like the adjustments that JB Biggerstaff has made with his scoring as well, because a lot of the time earlier this season, he was just, isolating at the top,
right?
Or playing catch and shoot ball strictly. Now they've changed a lot with what they do. They, screen a lot with him to get him a point guard, close to the rim so he can post up. Even when he's taking on double teams too, he's finding ways to skip the ball around and find open shots for Beasley or Cade or Tim Hardaway Jr. Like, I think he's done a phenomenal job with his adjustment. One more person who I know you've raved about and talked about a lot, but I definitely got to echo this as well too.
Talk about it.
Ron Holland, every single time he comes in the game, he
Yep.
makes an instant impact and turns the entire momentum around.
Exactly.
They started off kind of slow in the first quarter, but as soon as he came out and got a couple steals, made a couple stops, scored in transition, got that terrible double technical foul with Duncan Robinson where he gets shoved in the back.
Escorted to the ground.
That was nuts. I didn't understand that at all. But as soon as he came in and made some plays and, asserted his will, the starters kind of fed off of his energy and, you saw them kind of pick it up from there. He has been an unbelievable difference maker who, again, he's still flashing some different things. Again, he's like a Sarr where I'm not worried about the jump shot yet because his confidence of getting to the hoop and the defense that he plays and how he scores in transition is all you need right now. All the other stuff is going to come through time, and just all you want to see is that confidence get higher and higher and higher. And as you're approaching playoff basketball, you couldn't ask for it at a better time from a rookie like him. I'm so impressed with what I've seen from Ron.
I got a chance to meet his father a week and a half ago. I think it was the Wizards game. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like he just has that same way about him. He's nice guy, real classy guy, real humble dude. But if it gets to that point, if you get on his bad side or rub him the wrong way, he bought that action. You know what I mean? 100%. So it just shows that you see where Ron gets it from. And one thing with Ron, bro, I'm glad you brought him up. You said the word that I always talk about here on the channel, impact. Right? As much as I always pull up the stats after the game and break down each player and all that stuff, the impact is what I look at most. And I see how that correlates with the stat line. And it doesn't always. Ron Holland is one of those guys to where it doesn't always correlate.
Right.
Because you look at his stat line and you don't see a bunch of eye-popping numbers. But if you watch the game, you don't need him. He is and not for me for a while, that was one of the biggest differences between a guy like him and Fontecchio early in the season. Right. Fontecchio's come on late, and he's making more of an impact now. But a lot of time, if Fontecchio wasn't shooting the ball well, he wasn't making an impact at all.
Right.
But with Ron, he can do so many other things that don't show up on the stat sheet, and you're just like, man, he was one of the most important players of this game. So for him to be doing that already as a rookie, those kind of players can be scary good because they can impact the game in so many different ways. And don't let him get a consistent jumper.
I'm telling you.
His game is a lot more well-rounded than I thought, even with his handle in transition.
Yeah.
And early in the season, I'm like, no, Ron, no. Ron, okay. So like he's showing more and more to his game, I think, because he's being allowed to, which I think I got to give him credit too, because he wasn't trying to do things outside of his scope early on just because he thought he could do it. He was like, okay, what you need me to do, coach? Got it. That's what I'm going to do. And he's done that. And then you're seeing, he's got more. It's not just that. So like, I like how he's approaching the game. He's approaching the game the right way. It's almost like he's saying to himself, before I sit back down, I'm going to impact this game some kind of way.
Right.
That's kind of the mindset he seems to have. Like he's just ready to impact the game and get in there. So I'm glad you brought him up, man, because he's a very, very important piece of this team. Also, one more thing as far as the uniformity piece. The uniformity piece between the starters and the bench. It's about the system more so the players. When Asar comes out, Ryan comes in. When JD comes out, Stu comes in. You know what I mean? Like when K comes out, Schroeder comes in. Pick and roll with him. You know what I mean? It's the uniformity that I love. And I think he really helps with that. I think he really helps with that. So yeah, just wanted to get your thoughts on the depth that we now have. We're going to get to it more later, but what are your thoughts on the depth that the Pistons now have and maybe the direction they may be trying to go in with that depth?
Yeah, I think when JB talked about wanting to set an identity for this franchise, right around the March or February area, he's been able to do that. And he's also helped the guys on the roster find what their roles are now at this point. I feel like they did a lot of learning and fishing around to see what works for them. And I think at this point now, I think Ron knows, okay, I'm a defender that can run out in transition and I'm not scared to turn things up and, get my team going when they need it. Same thing with Tobias, who we just talked about. Like Tobias is not going to be the guy that's consistently generating 25 on his own.
Right.
But if you find him in a mismatch where he can post up, hit some corner threes, knock down some open shots on his own, hover around the mid range, which he's done very well. Those are the areas where he's been working. Asar, number one lockdown guy, but also is somebody that's done a really good job of cutting off ball and making very good secondary passes or even first level. I mean, the pass he threw against what was it, the Pelicans, where he's leading the charge and then
Mhm.
Cade is cutting and he drops it off without even looking.
Yeah.
That vision was like, we've always known it's been there, but
Yep.
it's a lot more on display now when you're running in transition with a hyper athletic team like the Pistons.
Right.
I feel like the depth is really coming along. We already know what the veterans represent as shooters, like THJ, Beasley, like those guys are going to do what they do. But I feel like even guys like Paul Reed, like when they come in and when it's time for them to make a play, they all understand their roles and what their impact and responsibility is to this lineup. And I feel like they're excelling every single time. And it doesn't matter who they play against either. The Pistons are not in a situation where they're like just beating up on bad teams, or they're just getting by the Pelicans or like the struggling lineups. Beating Miami on the road is a big deal.
Yes,
beating
it is.
Boston at home the way you did is a big deal. Like, there's some things that they've done that are impressive, and it doesn't just scale to, okay, we're only beating these kind of teams or beating Eastern Conference teams. They're bringing that fight to everybody. JB talks about it all the time. He said, we go into these matchups thinking that we can win every single time, and that's exactly how they play, no matter who's on the schedule.
Yeah. They don't know what they don't know, and it's a beautiful thing. That breeds confidence, you know, because you're not looking on the other side like, oh, they've been here. No, who cares? We here too. Yep. And that's the mindset that I think starts with coach. You know, he has that fire about him where you respect your opponent, but you don't relent to your opponent at all. And you can have respect for somebody who you think you're better than. That's kind of the mindset that they have. And so, speaking of coach, right? Because we talked a lot about the players, and rightfully so. But I want to talk about Coach Bickerstaff. The transformation he has been a part of from the beginning of the season till now, to this point now. And I want to go back a step to the game against the Thunder. We all know it's been very storied, you know, at this point now about what happened. Very well documented, and the officiating was terrible. We all know it was bad, right? It was bad to the point where national media was talking about it, you know. And I just want to ask you, because since we have you here, somebody who actually is in the media room when they are having these actual sound bites, kind of like evolving and kind of happening in real time. I want to ask you what it was like, because we all saw what he said. We all saw him banging his fist on the table and losing, crashing out. His crashed out. You know what I mean? So like, so I just want to ask you, what was it like being in the media room and seeing that? I saw your actual clip of that went viral everywhere. Like, it was on Instagram everywhere, huge media platforms, on Twitter, crazy platforms, TikTok had it everywhere. I'm like, these is not from Eric. These are from everybody else talking about this. So shout out to you for that. That had to be a nice moment for you to be able to get that recognition off that great soundbite. But what was it like, bro? Like, being there up close and personal, what was it like just kind of seeing his reaction and then seeing everybody else's reaction to his reaction, because that's not an everyday thing for him?
Yeah, we've all spent a lot of good time with JB. I definitely have. I've really enjoyed speaking to him and learning from him, and, you know, digesting his passion of basketball. We all knew he had that in him. We all knew that it was going to come sooner or later. Like, he's had moments where he's called out the media. Like, I think it was against the Bucks, like earlier in the season, where Giannis had like 25 free throws and Dame had like 10 or something like that, and he just went off. So that was like miniature though. So when we all came in, we all kind of had an idea that it was going to be a one question type night. And Johnny Cade kind of lobbed it up to make it easy too. Like, he didn't ask him no like simple question or like no deep dive question. He said, what do you say to your players after a game like this? And he just kind of cleared out the room. We knew, like, Kobe Bryant ISO. That's what we did. We just let him do his thing.
Just get out the way.
Just get out the way. Let it work. So again, we knew it was kind of bubbling. I like how he started it off by saying, "Hey, I like that my guys fought, but I'm disgusted by how this game was officiated." And like, you know, just feeling his emotion. And I saw a lot of tweets and some people question this about maybe there are other coaches who do stuff like this, where they just call it performative to maybe just inspire or try to rile up their team. And sometimes that works. JB is as genuine and as 100% raw as it gets. He meant every single thing that he said, and you could feel the emotion build up. Like, it wasn't like a joke for him to ball up that piece of paper and throw it at the mic,
right,
slam his fist on the table when he did. He meant everything that he was talking about, and every piece of emotion was not just to, like, you know, rally up his guys. That's truly how he feels about the game. Even when he said other things, like there's been quotes where we've talked to him about how he feels like about, you know, the adjustments of the NBA and how it's become a more 3-point centric league and how it's a lot more free throws. He's talked about how it's been not like frustrating to him, but he says he misses like the old school days where the big man had a lot of more attention, or you could be more physical on the defensive end, and you know it's not just one-sided for offense. So like that was 100% genuine coming out of him, man. It really like, yeah, it was cool to have that viral tweet for me, but it was cool knowing that the league is finally catching attention and paying attention to his words. Even real quick, even though they messed up his words, this part really kind of pissed me off with the media.
Talk about it.
Bro, everybody in that was covering it, like on First Take, all the national shows, they basically changed his whole argument from how we were being treated by the refs to how many free throws SGA shot. He didn't mention SGA at all. That was not his argument when he was making the points he was making.
Gotcha.
He was talking about how the refs were basically just dismissive of like his request, like, hey, take a look at this replay, or like, yo, why y'all reviewing us for a hostile act? Like, we're just playing basketball. Like, it had nothing to do with how many free throws SGA shot. Like, it spiraled off into their ability to talk about another superstar, which also kind of goes to the disrespect that they don't show to the Pistons. So I really didn't like hearing that from the media, because if you were listening to the quote, he was very specific about what bothered him, and he didn't blame the loss for the issue either. But again, either way, it was awesome to see that raw passion came out of him, and the team followed up after beating up on the Pelicans after winning this game. They follow his lead, and it's really cool to see that in an authentic way.
I think it's cool that players, you know, who before coming here probably heard the stories, you know, but I think now they really understand what it means when we say Detroit versus everybody.
Yeah.
They have their own experiences to kind of link to that now. It's not just something, it's not just a saying, it's not just this or that, but they actually feel it now. I remember talking to my boy AB Ashton about it when he first got here. He thought it meant like it was kind of an arrogant thing, like, yeah, we're better than everybody. And it's like, no, bro, we think everybody else thinks they're better than us. It's the complete opposite. You know, so I just think it's good for this young team going forward as they grow together to have these kind of experiences to really make sure that chip stays on their shoulder. You know, like it means something to them now because they see it up close and they're the ones that are being affected by it in some way, shape, or form, right? So I just think that's pretty cool that that's actually happening with this team, because they can kind of rally the troops together. We saw with the 04 team, 04 going to work team, the Bad Boys, it was always kind of unorthodox how they got it done. And people always snub their nose at it, you know? So it's like, I think this is a new iteration of the same kind of thing happening now. And I think it's really going to galvanize these guys and bring them even closer together. So I think that's good for them.
Yeah, it kind of goes to like a little bit of my origin story in media. Like, I've been in the game for like 10, 12 years at this point, but I took a break for a few years just before K got drafted. And I remember watching the entire season play out and watching how a narrative basically robbed him of Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
It was clear and obvious if you just watched the game, he was the best player. And it literally was a narrative that took all of that away from him. Of he had a slow start, didn't really get going until the end of the season. And like, that's not what happened. That's not at all what happened. So like that adds on to the Detroit versus everybody mentality. I think the players are starting to feel it. I saw Ashton tweet about it too. He said, I'm starting to understand Detroit versus everybody. Because the fans, we see it, we know it too. Like you just talked about with the 04 Pistons, that whole coverage was about how the Lakers lost, not how the Pistons won.
Exactly.
They didn't cover it like that. I remember it very, very vividly. So like to me, that was all the motivation I wanted. And now even following up to, and I'm gonna stay on it. I don't care. Shaq going on TV and talking about how boring the Pistons are. I don't care how boring the Pistons are, but you literally don't even watch the team play, bro. Like, that's embarrassing to say. And people, because it's a stigma to Detroit sports, people just let that slide. Like, that's embarrassing to be able to carry yourself like that. So,
good point.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
That mantra, it's through the fans, the media feels it, the players, the franchise. Like, it's really resonated through the city. Yeah, and I think it's paying dividends right now with this playoff push. Yeah, for sure. I was saying, Chad, I was talking to Erica before we started, and I was just saying that I think Shaq still got PTSD from that 04 loss. Even before, because you're right, they really downplayed the Pistons' success and talent and ability to get it done as a team after they pretty much gave them the gentleman sweep. And even before it started, if you remember game one,
in LA, they had this huge presentation on the court before the tip-off.
Yep.
It was Magic, Kareem, James Worthy, all these Laker legends on the court handing the ball to. Now, mind you, Ben Wallace is right in the court. He's right there, standing next to all those guys. They're walking past him, talking to each other. Ben is just like literally like, I'm right here, right? They're doing all these shenanigans. They're taking pictures of Magic and Shaq holding the ball, and then they jump. Like, it was a foregone conclusion to everybody that they were going to just destroy the Pistons. So even before we even got started, before 1 minute was played in that series, it was Detroit versus everybody. Because even the announcers and commentators didn't have a problem with it. Even they were like, and now we have our, what I mean? It was just, everybody was just leaned into the narrative. So even before so I appreciate you saying that, because before and after the fact, you could see that it was like they wanted this narrative to do well. And when it didn't, they got sour about it and said, okay, out of spite, we're not going to talk about the Pistons. Whatever, y'all messed it up for us. That's kind of how it felt. Even then, before the media explosion, like the way it is now with internet and stuff like that, technology, but you could feel it then. So to your point, bro, like I said, I'm happy that they are having their own experiences with things like that. That was Ben and Chauncey and Rips and Tayshaun and Sheed. That was their experience.
Yes.
This is going to be part of this team's experience. And they're the same way, it brings you together. Yep. When you're in that foxhole together and it's you against the world, back against the wall, it brings you together. And you get up for matchups. Like, that's the motivation you need. It's all you need a lot of time to go at everybody's head every night.
Exactly. And you see it working right now. Again, Cade got his feel of it, from his rookie season. I think Spice probably felt it from the years that he's been there. Really all the vets. I mean, they kind of understand what the perception is, even, being around the league, playing against a team like Detroit.
Yeah.
It resonates, and it's not hard to see. The fans understand it, the fans see it, and even y'all listening and tuning in right now, we appreciate y'all being here because of what we're trying to bring to you. We all know what TNT gonna do. We all know what ESPN gonna do, but Deuce's show and people like Deuce King, they are the backbone of the authenticity that you guys are craving and requesting from media representation. Like, it may not ever come from those people. I don't care if they Hall of Famers. Like, just because they Hall of Famers and wear rings don't mean they can't be dumb, and they flex that. So, like, to me, that's one of my biggest pet peeves in this business, bro. So again, we appreciate all y'all for being here and supporting what we trying to do and provide for y'all right now. Because again, Detroit just deserves better, man. Detroit versus everybody is not just a fancy tagline that Tommy Walker started. Like, this is something that's real. It's something that's really been resonating for decades, and we trying to put it into it and capitalize it and bringing winning to this franchise into the city, and it's happening right now. Yeah,
and that's why we come to you. We come right back to you because we know you're gonna give us that real. You know what I mean? That's why we get it done together for sure. So yeah, man, we do it for you guys. We love the game anyway. We're gonna talk about it with each other, if not with y'all. So we figure why not, right? But definitely, man, appreciate you sharing that with us, because that, like, when you talk about those stories, it just kind of brings back those memories, and it just makes sense how everything is just cyclical. It just happens in waves. You have your ups and your downs, and the Pistons right now are on the trajectory to do some great things, man. Let me get a few comments in here. Appreciate you guys. What's going on, Derek? How you feeling, bro? Chuck Brewer says, Deuce go back to the Bad Boys and how the take on them walking off when the Bulls beat them, exactly like Boston had done to us when we finally beat them. That's a great point. Yep. So we're going to take a quick detour for a minute to talk about that, because I think that's very important too. When the Pistons finally got over the hump of beating the Celtics, I think it was in 88. 88. In 87, it was the steal by Bird. That was when we should have went then. But we finally got over the hump in 88, and we're on the road. We're in Boston. I think Adrian Dantley shooting the free throws to put the game away, to ice the game. And you got Larry Bird, you got Kevin McHale, Albert Parrish walking off the court, right? Crowds going crazy, cheering for their team as they're walking off the court. No Piston had any issue. You didn't see any Piston watching the guys leave the court like, what are they doing? You didn't see anybody upset. It was just how it went. It was just the culture at that time, and the Pistons understood that. And I don't think they took it as disrespect. It was almost like, it was funny. Isaiah actually said, as in a joking way, when he asked about that, it wasn't anything like, oh, we were disrespectful. No, what he said was, when they walked off the court, I said to myself, we might win. So it just shows you that wasn't even a part of the fabric of what they were thinking about. So all of a sudden now the Pistons, who learned from the Boston Celtics, That's how they're able to beat them, right? On and off the court. Again, going to their games when they're out of the playoffs, things like that, right? Isaiah and Mark McGuire going to the Boston games against the Lakers previous years. So like they're learning from, those that can be formed. So they're doing the same thing. They think it's a rite of passage to, okay, you guys beat us. Now it's our turn to walk off. And of course, the media took that and said, and just kind of ran with it and made us the villain. So it's always been that way. It's always been that way. It's that way now. The only way to really deal with it and to quiet it is just to win.
That's it.
That's really the only way. Every time the Pistons won, it was quiet. And then slowly you would have the bandwagoners coming showing love. But it's always been that way. That's Detroit versus everybody. And I'm sure you got stories too. So I know we all have stories. Chat, I know you guys got stories too, right? But we embrace it. We embrace it. It's just part of how it goes and what we'll continue to do. All right, man. Let's move on, bro, before I get too deep into the history, because I will do that for sure. Let's talk about the playoff outlook. We talked about it a little bit, but I want to go a little bit more into what it may look like. So, guys, chat, the playoffs start on April 19th, right? And which means we are less than a month away. There's 12 more regular season games to go, which is crazy. It's crazy how fast this season has kind of just ran by us. But yeah, 12 more games. And for the first time in 6 years, guys, the Pistons are going to be playing meaningful basketball in the spring, which is something I am really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to going to basketball games in shorts, right? Instead of always having to go, I can go in shorts and J's. I ain't got to go in, jeans and Timbs or whatever all the time, right? But, so that's going to be exciting. And Eric, you know this. Chat, you guys know this too. There are three teams, like one of three teams are going to play. Either the Knicks, Bucks, or Pacers. Those are pretty much the possibilities for who we're going to be playing in the playoffs this season. So I want to ask you, Eric, is there any particular team that you prefer over the other? And if so, why or why not? The Bucks, Pacers, Knicks, does anybody jump out as you and say, ooh, that could do some damage there? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Pistons should be salivating at the chance to play the Knicks. I again, even outside of, if you would have told me coming into this, because we all know that Jalen Brunson is hurt now. I think even James Edwards reported that I think Karl Anthony Towns was dealing with the injury last game as well. So they're a little, rattled right now in terms of their health. But even if they were healthy, I think they were still salivating at the chance to play against the New York Knicks. I think of all those three teams that you just mentioned, great. They did a lot of changes in terms of bringing in Mikal Bridges, bringing in Cat, shaking up their roster the way that they did. Even with all those updates, I still don't think they are what they think they are. They started off pretty good. They beat up on the Pistons pretty bad the first time they played them, but the Pistons have been giving them the business each time since. And Cade Cunningham has been the best player on the floor each time that they played him outside the first. So to me, I think that is the best matchup that they have. I think they match up with them well. In terms of what Cade can bring. I don't think there's anybody on the New York Knicks that can guard them. Mikal Bridges has literally struggled guarding that Cade every single time.
He can't figure him out.
He cannot, bro. Back to Brooklyn, back to the Suns. He can't do nothing with Cade Cunningham.
Yep.
Even OG Anunoby has struggled with him, Josh Hart. And then now seeing that, again, even if they do double, the Pistons have shown the ability to capitalize and counter off of what they bring on the defensive end. I think Dern is getting a lot better of guarding, stretch bigs who shoot threes primarily. Cat's going to get his, but I don't think it's going to be a wash. And I also think Dern has done a good enough job to where he's been able to put pressure on the guys that are defending him. So it makes them a little bit more tired when they go down on the offensive end as well. Especially with a guy as strong as he is, you need that from Dern. So, I think I wouldn't mind the Indiana matchup. I think they still match up well with them, even though I think Siakam is, to me, the problem that I'm a little worried about with them. It's really both stretch fours on both teams. So Siakam in Indiana, I think, is going to give them some problems. And then Giannis, obviously, what he represents in Milwaukee. I just don't think they have a good enough matchup for either of those players, even with the good defense that Tobias Harris has been playing this season. So
Yeah.
to me, I think the Knicks are the wounded animal that's heading into the playoffs right now with their health concerns.
Mhm.
And even without them, I still don't think they're good enough to confidently be able to step up to the Pistons and say, we can watch this in 5 or 6 games. I don't think so. I think this is going to be a challenge for you. And I think that's who the Pistons should want to see in that first round.
When you think about the history of Tom Thibodeau teams, when it comes to the playoffs, a lot of times his teams fade. Whether it's T-Wolves, whether it's the Bulls, whether it's the Knicks, he plays his guys, his core guys, so many minutes in the regular season.
Yep.
And they get ran into the ground. I think that may be why Jalen Brunson is hurt now, to be honest with you. And even if he does come back to the playoffs, he's not going to be the same Jalen Brunson he was before he went down. He's not going to be that same guy.
Right.
And I just think that's the worst nightmare for a team like the Knicks, who may be going in wounded, like you mentioned, and gassed and tired, playing a young, scrappy, upcoming, hungry team. To me, that's the worst case scenario. Like, if I'm the Knicks, that's, as far as the first round, that's the team I don't want to see, because they're young. The Pistons are going to be energized. They got young legs. They have the opposite of what the Knicks have right now. Mm-hmm. So I think they really have a chance to really take advantage of that for sure. And you mentioned Mikal Bridges. It seems like with Cade, bro, guys who are long and wiry don't seem to bother him as much. It seemed like it was more sort of guys who are physical and that really give him more trouble. Because
I agree.
And you know what I mean? And I've noticed it. That's one thing I will say that is similar with him and guys like Luka Doncic as far as matchups. Guys like Mikal struggles with Luka. Jaden McDaniels struggles with Luka. Yep. Dyson Daniels struggles with, you know what I mean? Like those guys who are not strong, they're wiry, but you got guys like Cade who are just physical and can kind of move you off your spot. You know what I mean? He can get to where he wants to get to against you, and you can't figure him out. He's got so many counters. I think that's why guys like Bridges struggle so much. They just don't have the physicality to be able to deal with him. Like Dyson Daniels, he is at the Atlanta's version of Asar defensively. Like he's their guy. Like that's the lockdown guy. Yeah. So to see, I think he's leading the league in steals too. But to see a guy like Cade just work him over, and like as a Hawks fan, I'm gonna be like, man, that's like somebody working Asar over and over and over and over. You like kind of don't know how to feel about it. Like it's kind of mad right now. You know, this is Asar. How dare you? You know. Mm-hmm. So Cade just has that effect on guys that are not quite as big as him. I think the Lou Dorts of the world are guys that probably will give him more trouble because of their physicality. But that's another reason why I want to see the Knicks, bro, because guys like Mikal, like Jalen Brunson already is undersized, trying to mess. Like he can't guard Cade Cunningham. He can't. And honestly, that's why I kind of want to see if we can get Jaden back, but I kind of don't for personal reasons because I want him to just be careful. Right. I just think about how it could look if he is available, because there is no hiding Jaden. There is no hiding Jalen. There is no hiding him on defense. Mm-mm. You can't. There's like whoever he's guarding is to make him pay. They're going to test his durability. They're going to test to see if he's still dealing without injury, and they're going to make him pay. So I just think matchup-wise, like you mentioned, it's just a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. And then mentally, they don't want to play a team that's ready to run. They're already going into the playoffs gassed. It's the worst situation for them. So I'm with you. And it's funny because we have the same answer for different reasons. It just shows how great of a matchup this could be for this team, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like if, like you said, Jaden was healthy, I would like their chances a lot more against Indiana. I think they've really caught fire. Again, I kind of underestimated them to start the season. I didn't think they were going to be able to repeat the same success, but they've really come on strong. Halliburton didn't have the best start to the season, but he's really come along strong kind of towards the second half right now. Mm-hmm. And they really do miss Jaden's game. And again, those kind of matchups where even what they've been able to figure out, the way to play and kind of score without him, he still fits that mold of what they want to do, because there's nobody in the league faster than him. And JB loves them playing fast in transition. Yes. Having Jaden in that mix, I think just makes life a lot easier for everybody around them. He's not a selfish player. He's not always just hunting out for his shot. He's a very willing passer with great vision.
Yep.
And I think he does a great job of complimenting everybody else. And he's a matchup nightmare. So
Yeah.
even if you have to deal with the strength and the bruising nature of guarding Cade Cunningham, you don't get to rest when he's on the bench and you have Jay Nivey, who's speedy as can be, and he's pretty big and strong himself too. Like having a 6'5", playing at about 210, 215, like he's still pretty big, as they're off guard. So I definitely wish he was healthy for this matchup, but I still think the Pistons, they won't be favored, but I mean, who knows? I mean, these last 12 games, who knows where New York may be? They got to comfortably right now with, I think, 43, 42 wins on the season, but I don't know how much longer it's going to stay. I mean, luckily, Milwaukee's kind of been teetering a little bit. They've been struggling over the past several games. And Indiana, even though when they put up some good wins, they still have some areas where they kind of fall too, where, the Pistons are only, I think, a half game behind both of them. So, they got a lot of momentum heading in too right now. And this is the right time to be peaking. And I don't see that with the Knicks at all right now. They should be very, very nervous. You too, Stephen A. Yeah, we all saw you on First Take. You should be nervous right now.
Yeah, for sure. You ain't overlooking the Pistons now. You're not saying Jalen Green is better than Cade now, are you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we all remember that.
Right? He didn't change his tone. He didn't change his whole instrument.
All right, bro.
Right? Like, what are you talking about, bro? You definitely did not do your research on that. I'm glad you mentioned the standings and where we sit, because as of right now, the Pistons are actually tied for the 5th spot. They're right here. You see the Bucks and the Pistons are pretty much locked in. We're only getting behind the Pacers. So it can get very interesting. Like it's tough for me, bro, because I want to stay at 6, but I also want to keep winning. You know what I mean? It's hard to do both. Yeah. So unless both teams above you are continuing to do both, which is not a great sign either. So I don't really know. At this point, I'm just like, whoever we play, I'm confident that we can get it done. The way the Pistons played against the Pelicans a few games ago, I know it's the Pelicans, but just the way they played, their approach to the game, they play like that. They will be anybody who they play in the first round. Yeah, that's my take on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, you saw them against the Wizards, where even JB admit, like, we kind of took them lightly. We didn't, come as focused as we should have when they played them the second time around. Yeah. So I don't care that they beat the Pelicans by 40-some points. That's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
That's what you're supposed to do. You don't play all your starters the entire game. You build up a huge lead and you impose your will like you're supposed to. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, especially after coming off of the loss they had against OKC, where they could have just buckled and said, "Oh, some teams and some players could use like the disrespect that they get and use it as like an excuse or like a wallow to like kind of fall back, but they use it as their rallying cry to be better." And I think we're seeing that right now with how they're playing. Yeah.
Chuck Brewer said, plus the New York series, more of a national media spotlight on us. And that's kind of how I felt too. You see what's happening already. We're still weeks out from the playoffs and they're already talking about the Pistons and the Knicks. Already. So, and you see how the Pistons perform on a national stage. You see how Cade performs on a national stage. You saw what he did last night. He went off last night, and he always seems to do well at MSG, like many stars do, right?
Right.
So I think home court advantage and not having it could kind of work in our favor, because our road record this season is better than the home record. I think we're 20-15 on the road and like 18-16 at home.
Yeah, I think so.
So we've been road warriors anyway. So I don't really think that would be a huge disadvantage for us to not have playoff or home court advantage, and to be able to go on the road at that place. I think could almost serve as much of an advantage as home court advantage. You know what I mean? So it's just like, to me, it's a perfect storm. Chuck Brewer, that's a great point. It's exactly what I've been thinking. And once again, it allows the Pistons to make a name for themselves. More than anything. People are going to be talking about it. And I think that's a good thing for the Pistons, especially if they can push it to 6 or win in 6 or win in 7 or whatever, or 5, whatever you think. It'll just be good for the team overall to get, hopefully, past the first round and to get more playoff experience. For me this season, bro, it's about experience and reps. Right. I've been saying it all year. Experience and reps is the most important thing as far as development for this team. And I want them to get as much playoff experience as they can get. I don't want to just be content with one playoff series. That'd be great. But no, why should we stop there?
Yep.
Why? If what you were saying, and I wholeheartedly agree with you that it's true, is that the Pistons believe when they step on the court, they can beat anybody. If you truly believe that, why are you content with just getting to the first round? You know what I mean? So that's why I'm 100% in on the Knicks. It's a perfect storm for so many reasons. So many reasons.
Definitely. They playing with house money right now. Again,
There you go.
I don't think they understand how good they are. And I don't think we really understand it either. I think at this point, this experience in the postseason is going to show a lot because the refs kind of swallow their whistle a little bit more.
Yep.
The game gets a little tighter. The possession is a little more important. Like you got to re-strategize and, kind of adjust a little bit more on the fly, which ironically enough was kind of something that people kind of picked apart with JB Biggerstaff. But I think he's done a fantastic job with, moving pieces around and trying different things. And I think that's going to serve them better when they have to play in the postseason with, okay, well, we don't have to just try this because we did this early in the year. We don't have to do this for the first time because we knew it worked over in February. So I think he's done a great job of getting them prepared, which easily helps the house money that they're working with right now, especially against teams that maybe a little more comfortable than they should be right now. The teams I think Indiana is very motivated. I think Milwaukee and I think New York are kind of just wounded sitting there and just maybe again, I don't know the same kind of motivation that they're playing with because I don't see that same tenacity, especially with the trade they just made. When Giannis doesn't play up to A+ level, they're not the same team.
Right.
There's just a lot of things that kind of show that those teams can be vulnerable, and the Pistons could be the right team to poke those holes.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, bro. Yeah, Chuck Brewery, thank you, bro. Yeah, 21-15 on the road and 18-16 at home. So it's, for a young team, we have vets, but for a young team being the core, that's impressive. Being able to get it done on the road, for sure. Truth Over Emotion said, is Cade now the Luka Doncic of the Eastern Conference? Yeah, two-way Luka.
Yeah.
Two-way Luka, for sure.
I always say that. I like Luka a lot, and I think he gets a lot of pub for his offensive prowess, which he deserves.
He doesn't make sense offensively, bro. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, the playmaking he has is out of this world, but defensively, I don't think he's on par with Cade Cunningham at all.
No.
There's a world that exists where Cade will be universally regarded as better than Luka, and I don't think that's a hot take.
Absolutely. When it's all said and done, when Luka first got to the Lakers really quickly, after I think the first or second game, JJ Redick pretty much in a nutshell said that he's going to create defensive schemes that will prevent him from ever being on an island.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that alone, he didn't say it in those words, but when they dissected it, broke it down, it's kind of read between the lines. And so that's not something you ever say about Cade.
No.
You're not ever going to say, well, we got a scheme to make sure that he's not, getting caught in pick and rolls and miss. No, that's not really an issue for him. He can guard bigs. He can guard, he can guard guards. It doesn't matter. He's the opposite of that, which is crazy. And he wants to play defense.
Right.
He wants to play. He hustles. That's one thing with Luka. You don't see him strapping up to play D. Maybe one big play here at the end of the game in the playoff game because they need it to advance or not get swept. Right? But other than that, you don't really see it. So I think at the end of the day, it is a conversation for, is Luka better offensively than Cade is than him defensively? I think that's a conversation that, is the gap bigger? Which gap is bigger?
Right.
And when you look at those two things, put them together, who's a better player? I think that is a conversation that, like you said, will be had and should be had because we still don't know how good Cade is going to be, man. He's still just getting started with his new system, with his new teammate, everything. So we'll see. It's going to be fun to watch, man. Oh, yeah. Definitely going to be fun to watch. All right, man. Let's go ahead and get to our last topic. It's been a great show so far, but I do want to get to one more thing. And this thing here is something that has also been a very, very hot topic, very polarizing topic. Devin Booker. We got to talk about it, right? I know.
Yeah.
I know. We got to talk about it, though, because a lot of people, a lot of members here, a lot of, supporters have been asking that question, what do you guys think about that? I think here in this community, a lot of people feel very strongly about, well, I won't even talk about that. First, let me just get your thoughts on what you think. So basically, just to kind of set it up, we've been hearing this name and rumors, linked to the Pistons, trade scenarios, players that might need to go out in order for him to come here. So just point blank, bro, do you think the Pistons should trade for Devin Booker? Why or why not? There is no right or wrong answer, by the way. Man. I just want your thoughts, and then we can go from there.
I think. Okay, so do I think the Pistons need to make a move to kind of solidify themselves outside of just being a dark horse to then maybe becoming a favorite or a perennial contender? Yes, I do think they can make a move or two that would change that. I'm at the point And I don't know if I'm gonna get killed for this or not.
You know we always do.
Yeah, I'm prepared for it.
Embrace it.
I don't think the Pistons need Devin Booker, bro. I'm sorry. I really don't. Now, granted, Jaden Ivey's injury changed everything.
Mhm.
It made the conversation even relevant at this point because the way I look at it, we just talked about Cade Cunningham for who we see him as right now. He, to me, is a top 5 player. Not top 10, top
I'm
15,
with you.
no, top 5 for how
I'm with
he's
you.
playing this season.
100%.
And I think if you have him, who to me hasn't even really scratched the surface of how good he can be.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, Trey Gillette talked about not wanting to break up the chemistry of this team and this roster.
Okay.
Jaden Ivey's at the heart of all that. They love him. They think he means a lot. And his skill set, I think, is something that they miss dearly right now with his speed, his playmaking, his energy on defense. I think he is that important right now. And I don't think at this current moment, bringing in Devin Booker, who I think just signed another deal. I think he would have like 2 or 3 years on his contract. I think in those 2 or 3 years, you either you have to win a championship or that trade is terrible. Because the rumor that we all saw on Twitter, I don't know who it came from or how real it is. It was what, Jaden and 4 first-round picks?
Yeah. I think it was Jaden. I think it was Jaden and Stu.
I'm not rocking with that.
Picks.
Yeah. I'm not rocking with that. I think Jaden Ivey, again, you might be higher on Jaden Ivey than others. I think there's a world that exists where he's a star.
Yes.
And even if he's not, let's say he doesn't become as good as Devin Booker. If Cade Cunningham is a top 5 player, which Devin Booker has never been in his career, why do you need to tank and kill your future to get a guy that's about to approach 30 that may not want to stick around for the long haul, and you may have to basically purge your entire future to go get him? I just don't think that makes a whole lot of sense for where they're at right now. It kind of adds on to, I agree with the chemistry point. Yes, we don't even know how good the chemistry and the trajectory is for this team yet. They're just now kind of settling into their roles. You posted it. You said, we have not seen Cade, Ivey, Asar, Tobias, and Duren together yet. And that's the best 5 that we're probably going to see for this team moving forward.
Yeah.
And at this point, I don't think you're in a position where, like, this trade should probably think, all right, I'm probably gonna have to make a move sooner or later. Sure, but I don't think he has his phone in his hand thinking of how can I get Devin Booker here as soon as possible. I don't think Booker is that piece that really puts the Pistons over that edge right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great player. I do think, could they be better? Sure, but again, if they don't win a championship, I think it kind of is null and void, and it's not worth the cost of what it would bring to have him over here with the Pistons. I don't like the idea as much as I did a year or 2 ago with this team. I really don't.
So I don't know if you saw the comments. I think you did because you were kind of shouting them out as you were talking about this. I think we all agree. And I want to preface this by saying that this is not to take anything away from D-Book. I know he has ties here. He's a great player. He's a great individual player. He's an Olympian, been to the finals, all of it, right? I think the time to have tried to get Devin Booker was when we took Stanley Johnson.
Yeah.
That was when we should have been getting or trying to get him, when a younger Devin Booker, 21-year-old Devin Booker. And I say that because timeline is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Timeline is so, you hit it on the head, bro. You said if we were to get him now, we would need to be winning in the next, like our window would be right in line, in step with the Lions, with not the same flexibility. Like, we got to do it now. The next couple of years, we got to do it now, right? And so I don't want to sound, like I'm totally against him as a player, bro. I just don't see it. He's 29. Yeah. This core is 21, 22, 23.
Right.
When I want the core to enter their prime together, I don't want a guy who I'm paying. By the way, I'm going to throw the numbers out. You mentioned it. For context, guys, Booker is currently on a 4-year deal, making $220 million over that span through the 2027-2028 season. This season, he's making $53 million. Next season, he's making $57 million. The following year, he's making $61 million. So I won't say he's regressing, but as he's getting older, he's getting paid more.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good situation, in my opinion. That does not make sense because you don't need to get a shooting guard. You don't need a shooting guard right now. You still don't know what you have in Jay. Like you still don't know. So until you know, why would you invest that amount of money into a guy that on paper is going to make sense? We know this is K's team. I don't want anybody coming here disrupting any of that. I don't want to hear any ties to him and Monty Williams. I want to leave all that where it is. You know what I mean? I just don't want that. And we talked about earlier with uniformity. With when a starter comes out, bench guy comes in and does the same thing, right? Just that depth. If you spend 53, 55, 57 million on this guy, where's that depth go? Right. Who's going out the door? Stu is literally the heart and soul of this team. You gonna let him go? Ron Howard, we just talked about, ceiling doesn't have one. Gonna let him go?
He's probably got to be a part of the deal. Yeah.
He's got to be part of the deal. Jaden, you're letting him go without seeing how he looks with the other 4 starters? Do you need to do it? Absolutely not. It just doesn't make sense. And I don't know, bro. It's just not a good situation to me, because you destroy, in my opinion, everything you've been trying to build. Mm-hmm. The Pistons have never won with that type of move. You know, like, it's always been an important move. Like you mentioned, the Rasheed Wallace trade. You know, that was a key pivotal move to get the Pistons over the hump when they were on the cusp. Mm-hmm. Mark Aguirre for Adrian Dantley trade when the Pistons were on the rise and needed one more move to get over the hump. So I don't think a Devin Booker is the way to go. I think more a guy, and chat knows, y'all could probably answer this question, a guy that I'm looking at to be that type of player is Naz Reid. Yeah. Naz Reid of Minnesota is who I want. I think he's one of those guys that are better than most people know because he's not a starter. Mm-hmm. He's not starting over Julius Randle. He's not starting over Gobert. They make too much money. It's not happening. And he has a player option after this season. He's declined it and is going to opt out. He's making, I think, $13 million. So he's looking to get a payday, which I think he deserves. If the Pistons can find a way to bring him here for 2025 a year, I'm not thinking twice. After Beasley, I'm looking to get him and do whatever I can, because I think him and JD would be great together. I think they would be great together. He's a stretch four. He's a great defender. He's a great help side defender, good individual defender. He's just a good player, man. He's a really, really good. I think he can be that Rasheed Wallace type of piece. I'm not saying he's Rasheed Wallace. Don't kill me, y'all. I'm just not saying that. But as far as what this team needs at this point in time to not break the bank, still keep the core in place. He's used to playing with a star guard. Like, to me, everything is just, it will be the most smoothest transition if you're going to get a guy. He defense first. You know, they play defense, tough defense over there. He's gritty. I love Tobias. But like we said, Tobias has to lean in to that role. And he does. Mm-hmm. But that's not something that Naz Reid has to lean into. He doesn't have to lean into playing that way. That's just who he is. And he's bigger. And I just think that would be a perfect situation. He's 25 years old. He fits the timeline. Like, everything makes sense to me. You know, he can't get run over there. He's in a bad situation because of who's ahead of him. We kind of need that, what he is exactly to a T. So why not? So that's the kind of guy I'm looking at. Is there anybody who first of all, what are your thoughts on that? And then is there anybody who you have your eye on as far as who the Pistons might be to get to put them over the hump?
Yeah, I like the architect kind of guy that you're talking about, because while people will sit here and tell you it's a star-driven league, and it is, but you have a star now. You have a solidified, bona fide superstar player. Yep. And I think with him playing at his absolute apex right now with even more room to grow, Jaden Ivey, who's playing at his best with even more room to grow, same with Duran, same with Asar. Like, they all started kind of ascending around the same time. Maybe Duran and Asar a little after Ivey was, kind of taking off, but even still, in this season, they were all playing their very best basketball, and that's not a dispute. So to me, I don't think you're in a position where you need to hunt stars right now. If you want to hunt more depth and better pieces to upgrade, sure. I think Naz Reid is a perfect name based on how they're, based on how his style of play is, being able to shoot, being able to handle, create on his own, play defense. I definitely think he would be a fantastic fit in representation of the dog pile with I
didn't even think about that, bro. And good point.
My guy, and I've been on this dude's name for a while, and I think he still kind of fits the same kind of mold. I think a guy like Cam Johnson fits kind of what you've been on Cam for a while. I'm sticking with Cam, man. I really am. I think he gives you a lot of that versatility offensively that they need. He's very good at catch and shoot basketball. He's still a very good defender. And I think he, like you said, you need somebody that fits the timeline. I don't think winning, like let's say they do win a championship, and then after that, you kind of just derail everything. Like maybe get to the first round, but then lose, and then you're kind of trying to restack the deck with rebuilding your roster because you're still paying books so much money. Like I just don't think that's a good idea for them. Like if you want to win for the next 2 years and you want to try to find a way to contend for the next 10. That's the position that they're in right now. And Trajan Langdon sees that long game. He's not just trying to play what the Phoenix Suns are doing, who are probably regretting what they just did. Minnesota the same way. They're probably regretting all that trade capital that they blew to get Rudy Gobert. Like, I don't think
first round picks.
Yeah, like they're not happy about that right now. I don't think Anthony Edwards is right now with how much pressure that he's getting. He was just talking about how he don't like being double teamed and having to pass so much. So yeah, I don't think, again, do I think they need to make a move at some point? Yes. I don't think you need to purge your entire future for a star that we don't even know how effective he's going to be. And again, like if you lose a guy like Cam or Nas or whatever for like a year because of injury, you can deal with that.
Yes, good point.
You can't afford to have Devin Booker get injured if you trade everything to get him here.
Right.
And like that Phoenix team has been having health problems this whole time. So no, again, it sounded good a couple years ago. It sounds good on paper because of his Michigan ties, but realistically, I don't think it's a good idea anymore. I really don't.
I don't either, bro. You made a great point. And we always talk about this. Lions fans, Pistons fans, Tigers fans, whatever. We want sustained winning. It's been so long since we've had winning. We don't want just a flash in the pan one season, which we would love it if we won a championship and whatever. If we got it one year, went all in. But in the back of our mind, we'd be like, so what's next year looking like?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we want sustained success because we've had sustained trials and tribulations here. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's been depressing. So we don't want just one magical season. Mm-hmm. We don't want that. Like I said before, our teams, when they were successful, they had runs. They didn't have a run, a Cinderella season of sorts. We didn't no. So 100%, you made a great point. If you mortgage your future, you better hope that you got the best strength and conditioning coach in the league.
Right.
Because if you don't and somebody gets hurt, you're done.
Yep.
Straight up. And I'm going to ask you this too, just to push back a little bit on your Cam Johnson. I've always wanted to ask you this about Cam. So, like, in your opinion, other than age, what is the biggest difference between a Cam Johnson and a Tobias Harris? In your opinion, is there like what is it about Cam that you say? Because the reason I ask that is because I just look around the league at who we probably going to be continue with in the playoffs for the next couple of years. The Cavs, the Bucks, the Celtics, right? The Knicks. They all have two bigs, like two certified bigs. So what is Cam Johnson, like 6'8"? I think he's 6'8". Yeah, he's 6'9". Okay. Mm-hmm. So that would be my only concern about Cam is that I see JD in the paint a lot of times by himself, going against trees, rebounding and banging and stuff like that. And Tobias tries, but he's just not big enough. That's my only concern about Cam Johnson. What are your thoughts about that? Does Cam Johnson play bigger than he is? Am I overdoing it as far overreacting as far as that piece of it? What are your thoughts on that, bro?
No, you're right. I think when you bring him in, he brings a different style. He doesn't post up like Tobias does. So he definitely doesn't have the offensive versatility, but I think there is a world where he can grow into that. I think when you have a guy like Cade, when you have a coach that's as creative as JB Bickerstaff is, he'll find a way to make his team a little more unpredictable. And I think that's what makes the Pistons so dangerous. They're not a team that's just attacking you in one way, shape, or form. He's very good at creating matchups that fit his team and putting them in the best positions to be productive.
Gotcha.
I think he can get that out of Cam. And I think his shooting is so lights out, which is something that's still kind of streaky to an extent with those veterans. Like Tobias's three still isn't all the way together yet. Tim Hardaway can kind of come and go. Malik is still a very great shooter, but you need more than just him. Cam, I think, is shooting like 39% from the.
I think he's at 38, 39, right? Yeah. Okay.
So So no, you're 100% right. Again, if people have pushed back on that name, I totally get it. I'm not going to argue. I 100% understand.
Yeah.
Health wise too, he's had some problems staying healthy. He's very injury
yeah,
prone. So I definitely understand. People have been a little hesitant to that, but the names that we are mentioning are the kind of names that you should be hunting for. You don't have to go for the star big name guys.
Exactly.
That's going to cost you so much to get them. Going to get Cam is not going to cost you a ton for a team like Brooklyn, who's probably going to be tanking very soon.
That is true.
Like Naz Reid, you can maybe give him a big contract, but you're not purging off other trade assets to go get him either.
Facts.
But money is fine. You chew up your cap space, it's fine. You got a guy as good as him, it's worth it. And he's not going to sacrifice any responsibility of the other players too that are on that young core. So like to me, I those are the kind of names I want them to be focused on. Like don't go hunting for the star. Don't go get disgruntled Kevin Durant who wants a new opportunity somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, look, we don't know how. Look, granted, he may just like Detroit fashion. We don't know if he actually wants to play for this team. So it all makes sense kind of on paper, but realistically down the line, if you want sustained success, like you said, I don't think Booker is the guy that you would have looked for. Lauri Markkanen is another name that somebody came up with. I don't like that.
Nah. To me, it doesn't. It's way too expensive. I think it's too offensively, oriented, and I don't think he fits the style of play. I just don't think he is a physical enough player in the front court. Like that's just my thing, bro. Like maybe I'm just too stuck on what worked. You know what I mean? I just look at the East. I see Giannis. I see Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
I see Mitchell Robinson and Cat.
Yeah.
Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Like I'm like, and we're looking up to all these. Like even last night, Kel'el Ware, 7-footer, and bam, our center is as big as their power forward. At 6'10", you know what I mean? So it's just like that's just kind of where I'm at. I'm watching Tobias try, and I'm just like, I respect it, bro. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like if Tobias was 6'10", I don't think this would be a conversation. At least not as big of a conversation. But you just can't teach height and physicality. So that's the only reason why I look at a guy like Naz Reid. I watched what they did. I watched what he and the Timberwolves did, bro, to the then defending champion Denver Nuggets last year in the playoffs. The way they were able to strap up defensively and just shut them down was crazy. I was going for Denver. I was angry. I was mad. I wanted Denver to repeat. But the way they were down 20 in the first half of Game 7 on the road. Yeah. And they came back and blew Denver out in their home court. I'm like, what in the world? That's when I was like, yeah, Naz Reid is nice. This dude is a gamer. He's a baller. So that was the thing for me, the light bulb that went off for me. That's what jumped off the page for me with him. There are other guys. I've seen people mention like JJJ, guys like that. But he's more of a center, isn't he, than a power forward? Yeah. Is he more of a center? Right? Okay.
Yeah. He's a poor rebounder too. So that
is he? Okay, yeah. Okay. A little bit. Okay. And we don't need that right now because JD is just now starting to come into his own mentally. We don't need anybody that's going to come in and bring that down.
Exactly. Absolutely agree.
Yeah. So I'm with you though. I think either way, regardless of what we do, it doesn't need to be a D-book type of move towards a splash that major. No. And you mortgage and put your stability in danger. You really put your stability in danger. So that's why I'm out on him. But yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. But I do like the Cam Johnson take too. I think Cam Johnson, once he comes here, will probably be a lot more motivated in this situation as well, other than Brooklyn. So I think we would see a more rejuvenated, better version of Cam Johnson on both sides of the ball. So if he can stay healthy, I wouldn't be mad at that either, to be honest with you.
For sure. Yeah. You want a guy that can give you effort on both sides of the floor. Again, we don't know what Booker's mindset is going to be coming into this kind of a situation.
That's a great point.
A guy that's able to grow and mesh with this young core, play a role, understand his responsibility, and be patient as well. Like Cade has been able to be as patient as any other player that we've known in franchise history, NBA history. Going off of what he went through last year to then sign an extension the very next offseason, like.
Right.
We can't guarantee that Booker will feel the same way.
That's if he loses,
it was the same reason why I wasn't high on the Brandon Ingram idea. Like if you trade for Ingram and who's on a 1-year contract, sure. Let's say they get to the play-in this season. Is that enough for him to want to stick around?
Right.
I don't think it would have been enough. So yeah, they need somebody that's going to be motivated enough to want to stick around and play on both sides of the ball. And I think both names that we mentioned, while they may have some holes or areas they can improve in their game, they fit what the Pistons' identity is way better than just adding a star like Devin Booker would
Right.
it doesn't go along for what they need. It really doesn't.
It's not 2K. It's not 2K.
Right.
We're not playing a video game. Like these guys actually have to get along. They have to mesh. There has to be a synergy. They have to buy into the culture. All of them. It has, so that's why. Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I think we're all on the same page. I don't know what Trajan Lane is thinking, but I think he is kind of on the same mind frame that we are, just because he's talked about restoring and bringing back the culture that we used to have before. So part of that culture is who's on the roster,
right,
and what it looks like. And I think he he understands what that is. And I want to shout him out too, bro, really quickly, because Trajan Langdon hasn't missed, bro.
No, from
the roster to the coach. Like, he hasn't missed with anybody. He didn't even have a relationship with JB Bickerstaff before he signed him. Like, he just knew he was a basketball. He knew he was a basketball head. He knew the game. So, like, with Coach, with Tobias, with Bees, with THJ, with Schroeder, like, he hasn't missed at all. And I think he deserves we give Coach a lot of credit, of course. We give the players a lot of credit. But we don't talk about Trajan a lot. And he's really low-key. He's out, he's just in the background, just cooking up some wizardry, and I love it. I love what he's doing.
Yeah,
I just want to shout him out because he's really, to me, the biggest piece of why we're here.
I totally agree. He's talked about it since the start of the season. Kind of going into the draft where he was told that players were being told, don't answer Detroit calls, don't go to Detroit, don't have any interest in going there because they're a mess right now. Obviously in free agency, again, the players he's picked up are great, but they're on these tryout contracts for a reason. So, like, the Pistons weren't the sexiest destination prior to Trajan coming here.
Yeah.
And he has basically changed that completely.
Yeah.
Like, if they have a lot of players that are interested in free agency, it wouldn't shock me at all because of what they've been able to do. Establishing young talent, growing young players, having a leader in JB Bickerstaff that brings out the most of his guys. Like, the top-down energy between everybody is there. JB talks about it all the time. He says, you could have all the talent in the world. You could have all the stars in the world. But if you don't have that synergy and that connection and that, that chemistry that thrives on and off the floor, it's not going to translate the way you expect it to just because they average 30 points over here, just because they're a star over here. Like, everything is clicking right now with this team. Everybody's kind of understanding their responsibilities. And I think I don't think they understand what their trajectory or what their ceiling is right now.
Yeah, I don't either.
It looks like it's getting higher and higher every time they have a game like they just had last night. So this team is they're way ahead of schedule, and nobody saw this coming based on what last season looked like.
Bro, what was your win prediction coming into the season?
32 wins. I had no way in hell thought, okay, they're going to be above 500 before April gets here. I never thought that was a possibility.
Yeah. Bro, I had 35. King had 40. I thought he was crazy. I thought I was drunk.
I remember that,
I think you were here. You were with us. You were actually on with us. We were talking about it, because you said 32. I think, right? 32? Yeah. So it's insane, bro. Like, this is going to sound crazy, but it's not. It's kind of far-fetched, but just the fact that we can even say this is crazy. If the Pistons go 11-1, the rest of the way they can have a crazy run and go 11-1. They'll have 50 wins. How crazy is that, bro?
Where we at right now? Yep.
You know what I'm saying? If they go 9-3, that's 48, bro. Like, if they go 6-6, that's 45. Just 6-6 gets you to 45. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. So like that's why I want to shout him out though, because of how quickly he's been able to put the pieces in place, bro. And he hasn't missed. It's incredible to me. It's incredible.
His transparency's been spot on too. He's even said that we're way ahead of schedule for what we thought. We're better than I thought we would be up to this point. Like, I don't mind hearing him say that. Like, that's refreshing. It's honest, and it's real. I'm fine with that in every way, shape, or form. But I still think if they do, which at this point I don't see a reason why they can't finish above 500. I think it should be a stamp for JB Bickerstaff for Coach of the Year at this point.
Easy,
if
bro.
You're above 500. I don't care what Cleveland's doing. I don't care what OKC is doing. Nobody thought the Pistons would be where they are right now. Above 500, ready to scare at least 2 or 3 teams in the playoffs right now. Stamp him Coach of the Year. He's earned it at this point.
Bro, look at Cleveland's roster. No, not taking anything away from Coach Atkinson, but nobody expected them to be bad.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody knew they were going to be a great team. They didn't know how good they were going to be because they wanted to see the difference between coaches, whatever. All that stuff was part of the conversation, but it was never, they're in trouble. Right. It was never Cat leaving Minnesota for Julius Randle. Right. It wasn't that. It was, okay, let's see how they do with this situation. Right. So it's kind of like for the most improved thing, like who had a bigger jump, who impacted winning more. It's kind of the same rules, right? So it should be, in my opinion, should be uniform. So look at the turnaround. Nobody, because I heard somebody today say, well, it's only 6. They're only at the 6th seed. Let's keep it in check. They're playing great, but they're only at 6. Bro, we had 14 wins last year. There is no only anything. There is no only anything. So we just talked about our predictions. That would have been a win. 32. Right. If we'd had 32 wins by the time you made your prediction to now, and we're looking at, we're on pace for 32, bro. Yeah, that's okay. We're solid. Yeah, we might make the play in. We would have been happy with that. So for us to be where we are, bro, is insane. It's
the teams insane. The teams with 32 wins right now are in the play-in. Like you got Miami with 29 wins, Chicago 29 wins, Orlando 32, and Atlanta with 33. So yeah, I would have been jumping up in joy with 32 at this point. They have again far exceeded in his first season, leading him as a head coach with a new GM, with a new core around Cade, where people were questioning if him and Ivy were going to fit.
Right.
He have answered basically every single question. The only question we know at this point that the Pistons have is how good can they be in the next 5 years? That is the only question that is answered for this team right now. And
that's I'm so confident in Trajan to get it done, but it's just the navigating through the process that's just as important.
Right.
It's making sure you don't make the Darko pick when you have a championship team that you won't see the impact right away.
Right.
It's the navigation through the process that I'm really hoping he can really hit on, because that's what's going to maximize our window. It's just being able to keep the books clean, kind of navigate it, keep it stable while continuing to add guys and letting your young guys grow in the stars. And then when they're off their rookie contracts, how that looks with their extensions and how that, like, all that stuff is part of the navigation process, not just getting the talent and going out there. That we saw with the OKC Thunder. They did that, and it didn't work out well for them when they had James Harden, Serge Ibaka to go with KD and Russell Westbrook. You know what I mean? So it's like the navigating part is just as important. And I'm really hopeful that he can manage that along with just bringing in talent and bringing in vets to really help grow this young core.
Agreed. Yep. They're right on a path that, again, is quite accelerated at this point. Again, it's not like they're just questioning, it's not like they just have two guys that are playing good. Like you're waiting for Asar, you're waiting for Durn. Like all four of the core pieces, and then even adding Stu, even adding Ron Holland, they're all excelling and stamping their identity for this team in exponential fashion. It's been unbelievable to watch. And it starts with the leadership more than anybody with what's happened at this point.
Yeah. And even Tom Gores, bro, I gotta give him credit too. He put him in place and got out the way.
He did. He said he was going to, and he's kept his word.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, I know a lot of people aren't the biggest proponent for him, but you got to give credit where it's due. That's his job, is to assign and delegate and then let them do their jobs. And he's doing that now. And we're seeing from the top all the way down, like you said, top down, there's a synergy, there's a connection there. So Pistons are in good shape, man. Somebody said Jaden Ivey is our free agent. That's a good way to look at it. If he doesn't come back this season, that's an addition that we didn't have for half of the season. That's a good point as well, Kenyatta. Good point. Yeah, so definitely exciting time to be a Pistons fan, man. I'm looking forward to the playoffs. I just can't wait. And everybody here is really messing with your takes, bro. It looks like. Damien, shout out to you, bro. Everybody who's here, man. It's been a great show. We appreciate all you guys' love. So, bro, before we get out of here, man, for anybody who doesn't know at this point, every Pistons fan should know you by now. I don't know how you don't if you paying attention. But for everybody who is not following you, have not come across you yet, where can they do so?
Man, I appreciate all y'all for being here, Deuce. Always a pleasure being here with you, man. It really means a lot. Tap in with me on social media at all my platforms at I am Eric Vincent. I'm on Twitter more than anything on social media, creeping out to 4,000 followers. So if you want to lock in with me, I would really appreciate that. That would mean the world to me, for real.
Go sub.
Yeah, so tap in me on there. You can check all my work at ClutchPioints.com. I got an article about Cade Cunningham's impact and how he's helped restore the winning foundation for the Detroit Pistons. Really excited to get this put out because of how great he's been and the energy around Cade's name right now. Really would appreciate y'all support if you want to go check that out. Again, on ClutchPoints.com. Also got my own YouTube channel, Top Title Detroit. If you want to tap in, check me out on there. Getting my subscribers up, trying to get more content, more shorts, more reviews, recaps, a lot of behind the scenes stuff on there as well. Please make sure you check me out. Top Title Detroit.
Yes, sir.
Always talking
Sir.
on all the platforms too. So feel free to hit me up. I would love to hit up with you guys. Really would appreciate the support.
Hey, y'all heard it from him, bro. So make sure you guys go check him out. I'm going to be sure to add all of your links to the description, especially the last one you just mentioned when it comes out. I'll put that in the description box for you guys to go check that out as well. And I want to just shout you out too, bro. You've really done a great job. You know, all the hard work you do. I know how much this, you know, what you do means to you. It's more than just a job for you. Like, you really are ingratiated and really care about what you do. You know what I mean? It shows in your work. And I just want to shout you out for that. You know, your writing, your reporting, the way you cover the team, the way you do with integrity and honesty, sharing your content with me, allowing me to use some of your stuff when you're, you know, boots on ground, so to speak. You do amazing work, bro. So you should really be appreciated for that. So I just want to shout you out. And with that, man, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. But it's been a great show, man. So with that, guys, we're going to call it a night, get out of here. And we will see you guys post game after the Pistons matchup. Who do they play next game? I can't even remember who they play next game, but we will see you after that game.
New Orleans, I think they got
Pelicans. Pelicans again.
Yeah.
That should be a dub. That should be a dub. So hopefully Pistons get a dub.
My bad. Mavericks. I got about the
Mavericks first and then Pelicans.
Yes,
yeah. You're right. You're right. Okay. So yeah, great show, man. As always, you guys, appreciate you showing up and showing out. Appreciate you guys hanging with us as always. In Detroit versus everybody. We out of here.
Rewind 2021. There was a parade in my city. Number one pick, dancing in the street. Everybody was hitting the gritty. Kid arrived in the D, and it was live as can be. They can ball, but we didn't want Green, Mobley, or Scotty B. When he got hurt, everyone lost it. Storylines leaking, no faucet. Caught him wash when he broke his tibia. All the haters come to get it really, Everybody wanna be Skip Bayless. Wanna throw shade, okay, say less. Dudes went number one for a reason. It'll click by the end of the season. When he wins most improved player. Gonna be a movie, here's the trailer. Don't say I didn't try to warn ya. Co-signed by Win Benyama.
Kate Cunningham.
He was raised a Texan, but now he's Detroit flexing. Team USA, he was killing them. Got him effed up, let me quote Eminem. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. That's a bunch of gibberish and money lovers act like they forgot about K. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. That's a bunch of gibberish and money lovers act like they forgot about K. Forgot about K. They forgot about K. Forgot about how you forget about K.